Welcome to We're at the Age from VOYCE St. Louis.
Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of We're at the Age with VOYCE. My name's Melody.
And I'm Marjorie. So Melody, we're at the age of a lot of different things. And so I'm at the age where my parents are growing older. And you're at the age where your kids aren't quite grown up enough, but your parents are growing older too.
Yep.
And so we're kind of stuck in that middle generation where we're just caring for everything. And then work doesn't stop. It's constantly going. And so this podcast that VOYCE is putting together is meant to talk to people like us, especially women. If you're in your 30s to 60s and you're caring for everybody, this is for you. And if you're not in that age and you're caring for everybody, this is still probably for you. So Melody, tell us a little bit about VOYCE. Why is VOYCE doing this?
VOYCE is doing this because our focus is long-term care and advocating for the residents in long-term care facilities in the St. Louis area. As we look at caring for people in long-term care facilities, we sort of have to zoom out because before you enter the long-term care facility, you've more than likely been cared for by family, by friends, by church members, and getting to the point before you enter that facility is really what we're going to want to talk about, and just caring for those caregivers and providing information and resources to the people who are really on the ground and doing this without pay, right? Just volunteering their time to take care of a loved one.
Yeah, and like the term volunteering with family members even feels weird sometimes because it's like, well, I didn't volunteer for this. This is my thing.
Right.
So we also do a lot of work in elder justice, which is kind of a weird term that we do. And so elder justice is really the concept that all older adults and people with disabilities should live a dignified existence of their own choosing, which I think is what we all want for our families as well.
Absolutely.
So let's dig into it. You did something very cool recently. What did you do?
Yes. So it all started when I started commuting to work. And when I started commuting to work, I kind of had this thought of like, I hope I drive safely every day and I hope I get to work because there are some crazy drivers out there, right? And so I started thinking, well, if I didn't, if something were to happen, do the people in my life who would be making decisions for me know what I want? So, even though I'm younger and I'm not really looking at like end of life things, there is this thought of I need to make sure that people in my life know what I want in the event that there were some kind of accident.
So
unfortunately, it's just a reality that you have to think about.
So you're at the age where you're having a death party.
I'm at the age where we're having a death party.
All right. So tell us about so what did you do and how did you get people even to be willing to try this? Because I think if I said, hey, mom and dad, like, let's have a death party, I don't know if they'd be on board, but what'd you do? How'd you get everybody there?
Definitely. They were a little bit hesitant. So I had a group chat with my parents and my brother. And so I don't have a partner currently. My brother doesn't have a partner. And so it was kind of this thought of like, we both would need my parents to know what our wishes are in the event of any kind of accident. And so I just reached out to them in a group text and I was like, kind of pulled the eldest daughter card and was like, hey, we're going to have a party and I want you guys to make PowerPoints and put together your what your end of life wishes would be, what your thoughts are if you were hospitalized and unable to make decisions for yourself, what kinds of things you would want, what your end of life preferences are as far as like, would you like to be buried? Would you like to be cremated? And so we'll just have a party. There will be death-themed snacks. And
ooh, we're gonna have to get to the snacks.
Yes, absolutely. So I just told them, hey, we're gonna make this fun. We're gonna get together. So we picked a date that we were all available. Like I said, they were a little bit hesitant. My mom was like, you know what, this is a good thing that we need to do. This is a good thing to talk about. My brother, we got together later that day and he was like, I kind of got scared when you said that. He's like, it's not something that I really think about. I mean, he's in his 20s, so of course he's not thinking about it.
He's still invincible.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, it was something where I just had to clarify and be like, it's not really something scary. It's just something that is going to happen whether we want it to or not. And hopefully it happens a long, long time from now. Yeah. But it's better to have voiced these things and have thought about it a little bit than to leave people questioning.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get to like the what you do, I want to hear about decorations. I want to hear about snacks, invitations. What did that all look like?
Okay, so decorations, I definitely pulled out my Halloween decorations.
Nice.
I have a skull with like all the parts of the skull kind of inscribed on it. And so I set that out. So we had sort of a spooky vibe. But just to kind of keep it silly and light, because I think that's a big part of this, is just making it fun and light. And, you know, it's not like we're going to sit here and have a really heavy discussion, even though we are. But we're trying to just make it light. So it was I kind of just made fun of it. We put the skulls out, and my mom came all dressed in black. And yeah, so snacks, I had a guacamole graveyard, which was so fun. So I cut out like headstone shapes in tortillas and then stuck those in the guacamole. We had grave dirt, which was like brownies.
Yeah.
And then I just had like a big charcuterie board. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to put together, and everyone was really excited. They came in, we just started snacking and hanging out and just kind of kept the vibe, like I said, really light and fun.
Love that. Now, did the kids get involved?
The kids did. I kind of had a conversation with them beforehand, like, hey, we're going to be talking about this kind of stuff. It doesn't mean that it's something that we need to worry about or that's going to happen. It's just making plans and talking about what's going to happen eventually, a very long time from now. And so my littlest wasn't all that into it, but my oldest did get involved. She decided she wanted to say a few things. So yeah, they did. They were interested in the end. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, and it's all family stuff too, because even if they're going to hear about it now, they will have to deal with this at some point. So normalizing that for the whole family makes those experiences so much better in the long run. And hopefully makes it when we do have to act out these wishes, they're not completely confused.
Right.
So that's good. Healthy stuff.
Yeah, and we don't want them to be scared of it either. So I think it's cool for them to see us having these conversations in a very normalized way. And then they'll feel more comfortable having those conversations and thinking about those things too.
Yeah.
Are you a nursing home resident or family member with stories to share? We need your help to participate in the Missouri state legislative process by voicing concerns or support on various bills. No experience is necessary. We will support everyone with resources and information along the way. To find out more about the Missouri Alliance for Long-Term Care Reform, visit voicestl.org/alliance.
So now you had to do some research into like different documents and things like that. What kind of research did you do beforehand to get everybody ready?
So I actually got into some of the VOYCE archives.
Nice.
So I looked up some things that we've done with lawyers, some educational stuff, just to see what their thoughts are on end-of-life documents and that. So I ended up, and actually my family, as part of the group text, they asked, what are some things that we can be thinking about? What should we have in our PowerPoint presentation, or what should we talk about? And so I was able to send them a text that said, actually, maybe I'll just pull up the text because it was a good one.
Yeah, it's always kind of nice when you're like, here is exactly what we did. And so we're going to try to, in the show notes for this episode, we'll also add in some of the links of stuff that VOYCE has already done, some of the webinars that we've done, some of the resources we have, so that you can pull a lot of this together yourself too, because I think it's going to be really good for a lot of people. I kind of want to do one of these. So I'm excited. So what did the text say?
So I told them, here are some initial things you guys can be thinking about. What important documents do you have in place, if any, and where are they located? And these are documents like a will, life insurance, advanced directive, power of attorney, and bank information. What are your wishes if you were to be incapacitated, and who would you want making those decisions for you? So if you're in the hospital and unconscious for any reason, who is the person you want making decisions? Do you want to be buried, cremated, donated to science, etc.? What type of funeral do you want to have? Do you want a headstone or a memorial? If you have young children, who gets custody of the kids, and how will your life insurance be distributed? What are your wishes for any assets that you have upon your death? And noting that needs to be put into a living trust. So that was the text I sent. And so they were like, okay, this is good information. It's a lot of stuff to think about. And so in the end, we ended up not touching on every single one of those things because it is pretty extensive. But my parents, who are obviously the oldest in this group, they realized they have the most work to do. They were like, we don't have a lot of this stuff set up, or we have a will from like 1992. So they were kind
You
of
guys
like,
were still kids then.
absolutely, yeah. So a lot has changed, and they kind of realized like, okay, we've really got to get some things together. So this was a really good opportunity to kind of open the door for that and for them to take those steps.
Awesome. So some of the things that you guys looked at were things like medical power of attorney. So that means, so when we do a medical power of attorney, and all of these things are a little bit different in every state, but in Missouri, that means this person can make medical decisions for me, and can really kind of run the show if you're incapacitated, or if you allow them to use that power of attorney, or if a doctor or a lawyer allows them to. So we see it a lot with people with dementia. The medical power of attorney will get activated. But we also see that with somebody who's been in a car accident, in a coma, or you finished surgery, but you're not awake yet, and something else has to happen. So it's good to have that, no matter how old you are, because I've had a couple surgeries myself. I've been knocked out, gallbladder taken out, things like that. Luckily, nothing weird happened during that. But if I did not have somebody set for that. So it's kind of one of those things too. So you guys, everybody shared who's power of attorney, things like that?
Yes, we actually had powers of attorney printed out. You typically can print them out from a legal website from your state. And so we had those printed out and passed them out to everybody. Like my brother lives in Missouri and we live in Illinois. And so we had like different states' powers of attorney set up. And all it is a matter of filling that out and then having it notarized. So we're all in the process of doing that. And we did, as part of our presentation, state which family member we would choose to be our power of attorney.
Did that cause fights?
No, it did not. It did not. But my mom had to clarify who she was choosing out of the two of us. And she decided that I would probably be a little better under pressure. And so if it wasn't going to be my dad, then it would be me. So and my brother was like, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, and those things are really important to research in your specific state because they are a little different, and all of this stuff is, like I said, can be a little bit different. And you can do a lot of this online, but you also might, depending on how complicated your life is, you may want to go to a state planning lawyer or somebody like that. And the fees for this stuff it's I never want to say something's cheap because nothing's cheap. Groceries aren't cheap. But for the peace of mind and having somebody who knows what they're doing, looking at it, can really make a big difference for you. So then you kind of looked at advanced directives too. Yes. What did that look like?
So that is something that you would give to, actually, there's some hospitals that you can go ahead and put it in your chart. And that is just your personal wishes. So outside of someone making the decisions for you, it's your personal choices of what you want to happen in the event that you are incapacitated. Do you want to be resuscitated? Do you not want to be resuscitated? Do you want to be intubated? Do you have a certain timeline that you're okay with being intubated and sort of knocked out, that kind of thing? Or do you want to say, okay, after a week, cut it off? So that is more the medical side of the kind of medical things that you want done. It used to be called a living will, so now they typically refer to it as an advanced directive.
Okay. Yeah, because living will sounds a little bit confusing because I'm like, is that my will? Is that what do I really want? But
it is a little confusing.
Yeah. But then you ended up still looking at wills and trusts. And so
yes.
There's a difference between those two.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't know that.
Right.
Or they think they've got it both, but they don't.
Yeah, so those are definitely something that you would need to work with an attorney on. And I won't pretend to be an expert on it, but definitely having a will in place is something that you want to do for any assets that you have, in order to make sure that they go to the person that you want them to go to. Because just stating that to the person or to your family, unfortunately, when everything's done, it could still create problems. And so having everything written down and then having some assets protected in a trust, again, that's going to vary greatly between every person. But making sure that the things that you want to happen after you pass do happen, those are some very important documents to have.
Yeah.
Are you worried that you can't do it all anymore? And maybe you or a loved one needs a long-term care option, maybe a nursing home or an assisted living option, and you're not sure what's right for you? We know here at Voice that finding the right support can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. One call to the Voice Connect helpline, and you'll be connected with an expert who can help guide you through the process. Whether you're wondering about care levels, financing options like Medicare, Medicaid, veterans benefits, or paying out of pocket, or if you need a specific recommendation that matches your needs, Voice Connect is here for you. We're more than just information. We're your partner in finding the right care. You're just one call away from peace of mind. Call 314-919-2403. That's 314-919-2403.
And then we had life insurance, but I bet you probably also have to think about like retirement accounts and all that kind of other stuff.
Yes.
All the assets, really.
Yeah, and
where are
bank
they?
accounts. If you don't have someone listed on your bank account who could access it in the event of your passing or incapacitation, then it turns into an absolute nightmare for your family
Mm-hmm.
to try and get into that account, as it should be. I mean, they're not just going to let anybody get into your bank account,
Yeah.
but definitely making sure that you have somebody set up and that they have that information. So that was another thing we talked about with my parents, like, where is this information? Where can we find it? Just in case we need to. And then life insurance. So for me, being on the younger side and having young kids, I wanted to make sure that my family knew how I wanted my life insurance dispersed and used in the event that something were to happen to me. So we talked about what my life insurance policy looks like and what I would want each child to get out of that, and how I would kind of want that used. So yeah, I think the younger you are, the more that conversation needs to be had.
Yeah. Now this is a tough one. So, okay, we're talking about all our assets, and okay, money's a hard conversation.
Yeah.
Like we can have that conversation. But then like, what are we going to do with me? Is always kind of a scary conversation. So how did that part go with the
Yeah, that's definitely probably the toughest part of it, because nobody wants to think about that, right? And I'll even say my mom has said for years, like, just do whatever works for you guys. Just whatever works for you guys. I don't really care. And I think she had the best intentions with that, just wanting to not complicate things. But I really had to encourage them in that group chat, like, hey, making these decisions is a gift to your loved ones. And the only thing that we should be doing on the worst day of our lives is crying into our casserole at your funeral, right? We shouldn't have to be making these very hard, tough choices and wondering what you might have wanted. And so I think that really helped to push my mom to kind of like make a choice and really make that decision. And honestly, I'm glad she did, because what she decided she wants is really beautiful. And I'm really happy that we will know at that time that this is what mom wanted.
Yeah.
So definitely not a very comfortable conversation, but also really interesting to hear what my family all wanted. It's actually not what I expected. So,
Well, that's really important then, because, I think that I feel like, oh, I think I know what my parents want. I have no idea what my brother would want, but, it could be different.
yeah.
Because, we're not talking about these things on a regular basis. And, I feel like every time you turn around in our business that you're seeing a new way to do something. I mean, I think you can go get planted with a tree now. So, I mean, there's so many different things.
So many options.
So
Yeah.
knowing what somebody wants is really important. And actually, I think, some of my family members have come around to, they wanted to be buried. Now they want to be cremated. But before, like, the thought of being cremated was really scary because they thought they could feel it.
Yeah.
So, I have some family members who, have some thoughts. So,
Yeah.
but, and once you start really thinking these things through, you go, oh, wait, yeah, I'm not gonna feel that.
Right.
So, so, talking about the kids and, how those things get people, I'm also thinking about pets too. And, what happens in those instances. What kind of things did you think about as you were thinking through that? And then, in sharing that with your family, like, were those things a surprise? Was everybody like, yeah, obviously?
I think they were not surprised with, like custody of the kids and that kind of thing. But I think just making sure that that choice is known and then clarifying it with all parties involved. It's definitely something that I want to be the least traumatic for the kids. And so I spoke with their dad about what my choice would be. And then I spoke with my family about my choice. So, again, just making sure everybody understands and is communicating and at least has had one conversation about it that they can think back to and recall. And then pets as well. And that's something that you can put in your will too, is what you want done with your pets, who you want to have your pets, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's also something to think about if your pets are important to you, which I think they always are.
Are you looking to connect with a community who understands the unique challenges of caregiving? Then we want to partner with you. By sponsoring We're at the Age, you'll connect with a dedicated audience of listeners and help make a real difference for those managing the challenges of elder care. Reach out today to learn more about sponsoring an episode or the whole season. Visit voicestl.org/podcast for more information.
So now, how did you find all of the things? So you mentioned you had done some research on Voice's website. How did you put all of this together? You did a PowerPoint. But is that PowerPoint on a hard drive somewhere, and then there's no other way to access it? What did you do to keep all this organized?
That's a good question. So I just created a PowerPoint on Canva, just kept it super simple. And as of right now, it is still living on Canva. So potentially, yeah, that's a good idea. Saving it somewhere that is a little more accessible so people could access it if they needed to.
Now, you didn't put your bank account numbers on Canva.
I did not.
Okay, great.
I did not. So yeah, as far as the presentation, that's where that is. And then as far as writing down all of the important information, where my will is, what my bank account number is, all of that, I did get a notebook from Amazon, and it's got an expletive, and then it says, "I'm dead." What now? So I've got this funny little notebook, and again, I thought my family will laugh at that if they ever need to look at it. Be like, "Oh, Mom." It's just got a lot of information, and so that sort of just looking through that will kind of start the conversation and start thinking about, okay, where can I find this? Where can I put this? So for me, that's where I have everything assembled right now. And then my parents, they've got a big filing cabinet in their closet. So like that's where all of our important documents are right now, but they still need to update that 30-year-old will. So
yeah. And so I guess the next gift to you is making that appointment with the lawyer and getting that all updated and things like that. Because that's, and I think that's what keeps a lot of us from doing these things. It isn't that we don't want to. I've read some studies in the past that people can deal with deadlines and they can get stuff done by a deadline, even if there's procrastination involved. But there's this heavy piece around procrastination for things that do not have a deadline, because we don't know when our death date is.
Right.
And so, we don't know when the deadline is in this situation. So I think a lot of people put it off for that. I know that's part of the reason I haven't done my stuff. It's not that I don't want to. I mean to, but then, I got to go get tires on my car, and I've got to go to the grocery store, and I've got to help my parents. I've got to help my uncle. I got to go to work. I got to go to work like 40 hours a week, or more. It's terrible. So it makes it really hard to like fit that kind of stuff into your life, but it's so important. And it's, I think, a lot less painful than people think it's going to be, which is just kind of nice. I recently heard of another way to kind of walk into this too, of instead of starting with the, like, what do you want to do when you're dead? You kind of start with a bucket list and like, here's all the things I want to do before I die. And then we dig into, okay, but so I've done all this stuff. I've seen the great concerts. I've eaten the good food. I've climbed all the mountains, done all my things. Okay, now I'm ready. So, and then what? So a lot of different ways you can kind of dig into these things, but having these conversations with family members are so important.
Yes, very important. Now that we've had it, we all feel so much more at peace. We all feel better. Like I said, we learned things about each other that we didn't know. We laughed, we cried. It was honestly a really great experience, and I would highly recommend it to anybody. So do you think you're going to throw one, Marjorie?
I think I may be throwing one soon. Yeah, I've got to kind of figure out the hardest thing in my family, and I think a lot of families are going to go through this too, is like, I don't have kids. My brother has the busiest 11-year-old on earth. And so finding time that all of us can get together and do this sort of thing
Yeah.
can be really challenging. Again, huge gift to everybody when you can do it. So I think I'm going to be throwing a death party too. I'm at that age.
You're
So-
at the age. It's time.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the rest of the season, we're going to be talking about a lot of this stuff more in depth. So we're going to be having some lawyers come in to talk like really in depth about what you're going to need as far as those sorts of things. We're going to be talking about home care. What else do we have? What other topics do we have that we can?
We have a death doula who is coming to speak with us,
I'm
and
so excited about that.
that is just fascinating work. She's incredible, so really excited to talk to her. Like you said, we have some lawyers. We're going to talk about in-home care and what options you have there. Just a lot of stuff to look forward to this season.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about this because, so we've been Voice has done a lot of webinars. We do a lot of in-person seminars, but I hope that people are going to be able to listen to this in their car because that's when I listen to all my information.
Yep.
And I hope that you're going to have fun and laugh along with us because while a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about are hard topics, they don't have to always be really painful and they don't have to be dour. So here at Voice, we laugh a lot. Our program director, Chin, always says, we take the work really seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously at all. So I'm really hoping that you can kind of come and have fun with us through this journey and as we start the conversation.
Right. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great week.
Bye.